G'day everyone. Thought I'd talk to you about why I do believe that point and shoots are finished. If we look at the numbers of sales, they're really the part of the sector that has been hit hardest. And everyone knows, I believe, that that's due to the sales of phones that are just basically taking over that sector. Yes, they do have things like longer zooms and things like that, but for most people, it's what you've got in your pocket is usually good enough. And that's the thing now that, I had a Sony RX100 version 5 and I only had that for a couple of months and I ended up selling it just because I wasn't using it, and I'd still, when I went out, I'd still just grab my iPhone that was always with me and I'd be using that. I was sort of debating whether I was going to upgrade, and I talked to everyone on the last week's live show about it because I was humming and hawing because the XS Max that I have is really good. But I did want something that has a wider field of view, because I was finding sometimes when I'm using this that it just wasn't wide enough, particularly when I'm using for video, and that's one of the things that really I was looking forward to. Also, the front-facing camera is much better in the new iPhone 11. I'm going to take you through and discuss it, and then I'd love you to leave some comments below what you think about it all. Whether you are upgrading, or it doesn't have to be the new iPhone. Obviously, it could be one of the new Samsung models or the new Pixel. But I thought I'd take you through my feelings about this release, and I am actually going to do a video about this when I get it. I get it hopefully on Friday, and I'm going to try and do a video fairly soon after that, comparing this to some of my other cameras, and it may be the A6400 or it might be full frame. I just like comparing it just out of interest to see what we can get from these new cameras. So let's have a look anyway at the iPhone itself, and we'll talk about the features. So it's the iPhone 11 Pro is the one that I'm going to be getting, and I'm getting that really for the features and the screen size that's there. I did want the 3 cameras, so you have to go for the Pro, but I like the larger screen size, so I'm going to go for that one. And it really does seem to be a beautiful phone. I'm going for the midnight green, so I decided to go for that midnight green. But just to go through some of these things that do interest me, it's more like I said with the cameras, and I'm going to scroll down and I'll show you what focal length these cameras are. So the ultra wide is a 13mm focal length, and it's an f2.4 aperture. It's got a 120 degree field of view, and they are a 12 megapixel sensor. The next one is the wide camera, which is a 26mm focal length. Now this is a 1.8 aperture 6-element lens. Now this does have optical image stabilization, and from what they've showed us on the Apple keynote, the stabilization has been improved drastically, because they did show on those keynotes and they did mention that they were all handheld, so that was interesting as well. So this wide camera does have optical stabilization, and the telephoto camera is a 52mm focal length, so this is going to be nice obviously for portraits and things like that. It's an f2 aperture, so I think it was f2.4 before, so it's better in low light than what the other one was in the previous iPhone. It also has optical image stabilization on this, 2x optical zoom. So it looks like it's only the really wide one that doesn't have stabilization, but due to the fact that that's so wide, it's probably not going to be such a big issue. And if I am filming with this, I probably will put it on something like a gimbal anyway. So that should be really good as well. So the cameras do seem like they're really nice. Now, to show you the difference in this, this is what you'll get if you're using the telephoto. Then if you go down to the wide, you will get that field of view, and then the ultra wide, obviously that will show you from the ultra wide side, which really does give you a fantastic environmental look. And that's the thing that was missing with my iPhone at the moment, and it was often, I thought about buying a wide angle lens attachment to it, like one of the Monument lenses or whatever they are, to attach to it to give the wide angle, but it's always a hassle because you've always got to carry something else with you and then attach it, whereas this way it's all built in and you can switch seamlessly between those lenses. So fantastic. There is a new camera app to this. It's touch friendly now. From what I saw, you can seamlessly switch between those focal ranges, and they match in color and everything else. So that's really a great feature now, that they are seamless in how you can switch between all of them. There is a fourth camera too from the front, which I'll talk about shortly, which does interest me as well. This is just a sample that they showed online, and they did say that it was actually recorded without any processing, and it was actually, not they processed internally with the internal software on the iPhone camera, and it was also edited with the iPhone camera as well. Now, a couple of things here that I wanted to talk about was you can now do things like crop, rotate, auto enhance, and add filters directly in the camera as well. And looking at the ultra wide, when I scroll into here, it does show you how much of the surroundings that you can get on these images, which really, it's beautiful. And I do love putting more and more environment into my shots and incorporating that subject into that shot. And to be able to do that is really amazing. And I just can't wait to get that feature alone. Would be worth upgrading for me. And it really does look beautiful. Again, these are just some images that they took. I just wanted to show you these because they are exceptional. This was held above, apparently they hired I think they hired a crane here or something to get up and shoot directly down, and it does show that nice wide angle lens being in use, etc, etc. Now, another couple of things that did interest me was this low light technology. The iPhone previously was not very good if you were dealing with low light, but it does look like now that they really have improved this low light capture substantially. If you look with night mode off on the left hand side there and you see it with night mode on, I'll show you another version of this in a minute too. It looks like it's great. And as for portraits, they really do look lovely. I mean, most people that are using these are only going to be sharing these online and things like that, and I think for what it is, it's exceptional quality. I mean, it really is good. In fact, my D3S that I used to capture weddings with was only 12 megapixels as well. So it can show you the power of using a 12 megapixel camera. Yes, you can't blow them up in prints to massive prints, but you'd be surprised how much you can actually use them. The other thing too I wanted to talk about was the Smart HDR. It really is quite powerful in these cameras. Now, it's going to have AI, which I believe is going to be introduced in the coming weeks, where it's going to take 9 images basically, and capture 9 images, and then blend those images together and give you a beautiful photo that is not going to look HDR-ish. It will look more realistic. That's the way it seems to work now. I've used HDR on the current camera, and it works very well. And I've done a video about that, showing how well that worked against the Sony full-frame cameras. And it was surprising how good the images looked straight out of camera. Seems to be really nice. It's got a great feature now where if you hold down the shutter button, it will turn video on, things like that. It's got a great selfie front screen as well. So why this interests me is because Filmic Pro brought out something, they've announced this app that they're going to do. I already use Filmic Pro, but what they've done is they've announced this app that will show the 4 cameras up live. And I'll sort of show this as we're going through here. Let me enlarge this so that I can show you so it's full screen. All right, so let's play this, and you'll see what I mean. You'll notice there that it's showing the 4 screens or that you can crop into. Now, if they click in it, then you can see that's a front-facing camera, and these are the other 3 lenses. Now, depending on what you select and you just confirm, that camera will then become active. And you can just switch between the cameras as you're going, which is just incredible. I mean, as a YouTuber, being able to do this, to have even interviews where you'll see here, they'll put up one camera, then the next one, you confirm it, and then you can switch between the 2 cameras. You'll see now as they start to press this and record that they'll switch between both of these cameras seamlessly on the fly, which is just incredible. And like I said, I could be interviewing a bride or doing a shoot, and then I can just click on the screen, and then I can basically switch between me and the person that I'm photographing to show you guys how I'm shooting, which will be fantastic. And I think they do that in a second, where they show the switching between one person filming and another person in the background, which should be great. Hopefully that will come up in a second. So you'll see here that they select one image and then the front-facing camera, and now you'll see it will show the 2 of them So you'd have a picture in the front, and then also the front-facing camera as well. So then you could switch, say, between me talking and also then them being shot in the background. So this is brilliant. Now this is coming out later this year, according to Filmic Pro, but it looks like a fantastic system. So I did have this to show as well, that it was the three cameras itself, which is the wide camera, the telephoto camera, and then the ultra-wide camera. But it was more that I'd like to show you this, which was the night mode, which is night mode off and night mode on. A drastic difference in how it can perform, and it looks like it's really great. There was another one here which shows the dog in action. I think I wanted to show the last one down here. Now, these was captured off the still frame, off the video, so, I mean, they're not as good as what they'd be if it was just stills. But down here, this is incredible when you look at this, because that is the night mode with the night mode off, and that is the night mode on. Again, look, I'll hold judgment completely to see how these are once I've got the camera in my hand myself, like the phone, and tried it out. But it seems like it's going to be fantastic. Like, to have that ability, have that front-facing camera now that can do 4K 60, and as a YouTuber, that's a really big deal for me, because now I can do really good video from the front-facing camera. Once Filmic Pro comes out and I can switch between me, have me and the front, the model that I'm shooting at the same time, and they'll be able to switch between the two of us. We'll do picture-in-picture and have that captured all at once with one camera is really a game changer for me for doing YouTube videos and things like that. The stabilization appears to be that it has been improved dramatically. And having that three cameras that I can switch to from the front and have that ultra-wide also seems like it's a no-brainer for me to upgrade. And when I thought about it over the weekend, that day on Friday, I thought, no, look, I've got to upgrade because of those features alone. I just thought I'd share that with you, but it's no wonder when you look at this why point-and-shoot cameras are really struggling. The issue is here that camera manufacturers cannot compete on the processor side. And that's the issue here, that most of the things that are happening here on the iPhone and the Samsung phone and even the Pixel are all processor-intensive things that, require a massive processor, and they're being upgraded each year. Now, if you look at the Sony cameras, for instance, well, they're using the same processor from a number of years ago. So they just don't have the processing power to do all these things that the iPhones and Samsung cameras can do. And that's the issue. Now, I'm not saying this is going to replace full frame cameras. I'm not saying that at all, but good enough for a lot of people is good enough. And that's the thing, and it is for me, and that's why I sold my RX 100. And I think that's the issue. When was the last time you went out and you saw someone using a point and shoot? They were all using phones. I very rarely see point and shoots anymore. And cameras like this now, like the new iPhone, it's going to make it even less of a reason to go out and buy a point and shoot. So, I do think they're finished. And it's just, well, let me know what you think in the discussion, because I'd love to see what you think about it as well. That's all for now, guys, and I'll see you all soon for the next video. Bye for now.